My girlfriend told me, I need space, don't contact me. I gave her exactly that, blocked her number, packed her things, and changed my relationship status. When she came back 5 days later, expecting me to beg, she discovered I was done waiting for her. I didn't block her out of spite. That's the part people never believe. It happened on a Thursday evening, the kind of evening where the light outside goes that pale, washed out gold right before sunset. I was sitting on my couch, laptop open, half listening to a podcast about architecture, something quiet, background noise to keep my mind from spiraling. Then Maya texted. Not a long paragraph. Not a fight. Not even context. Just, I need space. Don't contact me for a while. No punctuation. No explanation. Just a command thrown like a pebble into a lake she didn't intend to check again. I stared at the screen longer than I want to admit. Part of me expected this, though I couldn't have said why. There had been signs, soft, almost polite signs. The kind you ignore because they don't hurt enough at the moment to force clarity. Like the way she'd pull away slightly when I reached for her hand in public. Or how she'd become vague. About everything. I'm going out with friends, she'd say. Which friends? You don't know them. Where? Just out. When would she be home? Late. Not defensive. Not guilty. Just distant in that way people get when they've moved on emotionally, but haven't yet worked up the courage or the convenience to say it out loud. 2 weeks before the text, she'd stopped staying over as much. Her toothbrush sat untouched in my bathroom, a little monument to neglect. She'd leave her clothes in my laundry basket, but never bring new ones. Small signs of someone quietly extracting themselves from a life. Still, when the text came, it didn't feel like a blow. It felt like confirmation. So I answered honestly. Take all the time you need. No sarcasm. No passive aggression. Just release. Because space wasn't the thing she asked for. It was the thing she'd already taken. About an hour later, after I'd closed my laptop and sat with the strange quiet of the apartment, something in me clicked into place. A quiet, calm decision I didn't know I had the strength to make. I blocked her number. Not dramatically. Not angrily. Just finally. Then I went into the bedroom and pulled out the large duffel bag she kept in my closet. I began packing her things, carefully, neatly. The cardigan she always left on my chair. Her skincare bottles on the dresser. Her charger tangled at the bottom of the nightstand drawer. The mismatched socks she never bothered to pair. I folded everything into the bag like I was closing a chapter, not ripping it out. There was no anger. Just a strange, quiet clarity. Because for months, I had waited for her to choose me again. And she hadn't. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she already had someone else in the wings. I don't know. But I finally chose myself. When I finished packing, I set the bag by the front door. Then I opened my relationship status page, something I never touched, something I thought was stupid or superficial. But not that night. I changed in a relationship to single. Not for attention, not for a reaction, just because it was finally true. Then I sat down on the couch, turned off the lights, and let the quiet settle. It wasn't victory. It wasn't heartbreak. It was a kind of emotional exhale I didn't realize I'd been holding for months. 5 days passed. No texts. No calls. No knocking at my door. Nothing. On the morning of the 6th day, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. And again. On the 5th call, voicemail finally kicked in. Her voice, shaky, annoyed, almost offended, filled my speaker. Hey, I'm ready to talk now. I didn't answer. Because something had shifted. And she didn't know yet just how much that I expected anger. What I didn't expect was entitlement wrapped in panic. It started that same evening. I'd just gotten home from work, still in my button-down, halfway through heating leftover pasta, when my building's intercom buzzed. A long, insistent buzz. Then, it's me. Let me up. Her voice. I didn't press the button. Instead, I walked to the peephole of my apartment door because I knew Maya. Knew how she could slip past neighbors or tailgate someone coming in. Sure enough, 2 minutes later, I heard the soft tread of footsteps in the hallway. Then a hesitant knock. I opened the door just enough to look at her, but not enough for her to step in. She looked different. Not sad. Not angry. Just thrown off her axis. Like she expected a version of me that no longer existed. Maya, I said evenly. She clenched her jaw. Why did you block me? You said you needed space. I meant space, she snapped. Not, whatever this is. Blocking me? Packing my stuff? Changing your relationship status? What the hell is wrong with you? What hit me wasn't her tone. It was the way she said wrong with you, not wrong with us. There it was again. That small, habitual rewriting of reality where my boundaries were attacks, and her distance was normal. I took you at your word, I said simply. She scoffed. No, you didn't. You punished me. I let out a slow breath. No. I stopped waiting. Her eyes flickered, not with softness, with irritation, like she couldn't believe I wasn't falling into the old dynamic. She pushed lightly on the door, trying to slip inside. I didn't move, and she didn't push harder, just stared at me like she suddenly had to recalibrate her entire playbook. Can I come in? She asked. For what? To talk. We can talk here. She blinked. Are you serious? Yes. Her shoulders tensed. To Maya, closed doors weren't boundaries, they were challenges. Okay, she said with a sigh that carried more annoyance than hurt. I guess I'll talk in the hallway. Silence fell between us. I waited. She didn't start right away. Then, I didn't mean that text the way it sounded. How did you mean it? I meant, I needed time to think, to breathe. She looked down at her hands. I felt overwhelmed. You've been distant for months. I know, she said quickly. And I'm sorry. I felt pressure. Pressure to do what? She hesitated. To be what you needed. That one hit the gut, but not the way she intended. It was honest for once, but also unfair. You could have said that, I replied. I was afraid, she said. I didn't want to hurt you. You did. She flinched. I didn't raise my voice, didn't accuse her of anything. I didn't need to. The truth sat there between us, like a piece of glass she'd walked on barefoot. Finally, she said, I want to try again. I studied her. Not her face, her posture, her eyes, the tension in her jaw. And something inside me settled with uncomfortable certainty. She didn't want me back. She wanted control back. Maya, I said quietly, why now? She looked up sharply. What? Why come back now? After 5 days? After silence? After telling me not to contact you? She crossed her arms, defensive. I just missed you. No, I said. You missed access to me. Her eyes filled with heat. You're being dramatic. That's what you always say when I stop playing along. Her jaw locked. I didn't think you'd actually move on. That's the point, I said. You didn't think. I reached behind me and grabbed the duffel bag of her things, the one sitting by the door for days. I set it gently at her feet. She stared at it like it was a threat. What is that supposed to mean? I'm giving you what you asked for, I said. Space. A long silence. Then a whisper. You're serious. I am. Her expression shifted, piece by piece, into something I'd never seen on her. Not heartbreak, not anger, disbelief. Like I had broken a rule she thought was permanent. You don't get to do this, she said quietly. I just did. She stared at me another long second, then let out a brittle, humorless laugh. Wow, you think you're strong now, huh? No, I said. I think I'm done. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked down at the bag again. Then she picked it up slowly, as if touching a hot pan. This is a mistake, she said. Maybe, I replied. But it's mine to make. She swallowed. Goodbye, then. Goodbye. She turned and walked down the hallway, each step clicking like punctuation marks to a sentence that had gone on too long. I closed the door gently. Not triumphant. Not relieved. Just tired. But in a clean way. Like the air after a storm. Update that I thought that giving her the duffel bag and closing the door would be the end of it. But endings aren't clean. They're messy, human, and cling in places you don't expect. The first sign of fallout wasn't from her. It was from my friend Liam. He texted me 2 days after the hallway breakup. Dude, why is Maya posting breakup quotes like you cheated? I stared at the message for a solid minute before replying. What did she post? He sent screenshots. Black and white quotes with soft cursive font. Nothing hurts more than being abandoned when you needed someone the most. Some people will throw you away like you're nothing. Stay strong. Space doesn't mean goodbye, but I guess to some people it does. And one that made my jaw tighten. He replaced me in 5 days. Replaced. As if I'd run off with someone new. When all I'd done was follow her wishes, literally. Then the group chat messages trickled in. My coworker Julia. Hey, did you and Maya break up? She posted something weird. My cousin. Sorry man, saw some stuff online. You okay? Liam again. She's making you look like the bad guy. Want me to comment something? I told him no. Not because I wanted to be noble, but because anyone who needed her version to be true wasn't someone I needed to convince. Still, a knot formed in my stomach. not anger. A kind of weary sadness at recognizing a pattern I'd ignored for too long. When Maya felt she was losing control, she didn't communicate. She curated. Her life wasn't built on conversations. It was built on narratives she could shape from the outside in, but never from the inside out. 3 more days passed. Quiet days. Steady days. Days where I cooked for myself, went to work, came home to silence that didn't feel empty, just honest. Then, on day 6, the messages started. Not from her number. She was still blocked. From new numbers. Each time a different one. Can we just talk? Please. You're being childish. 5 days and you moved on. Pathetic. Unblock me. We're adults. I never asked for a breakup. Your silence is hurting me. And then the one that made me sit down on my couch. I only needed space because I was confused. I never wanted to lose you. Please don't do this. It should have made me feel something. Maybe 6 months earlier, it would have cracked my resolve. But instead of pain, or longing, or even anger, I felt tired. Like someone trying on a coat they'd owned for years and realizing, suddenly, that it never really fit. I didn't respond. Not to the pleading. Not to the guilt tripping. Not to the emotional boomerang of blame and apology. But she wasn't done. The next blow came from an unexpected angle. My sister called me on a Sunday afternoon, her voice sharp. Did you tell Maya you want nothing to do with her family? Why would you say something like that? I went cold. What? I've never even met her family. She told people you cut her off cold, blocked her for no reason, and said you reject everyone connected to her. She made it sound like you ghosted her. I rubbed my forehead. She asked for space. I gave her space. That's it. My sister sighed. That's not the version going around. And suddenly, the picture clicked. Maya didn't want the relationship back. She wanted control over how it ended. A narrative where she was the wounded one. Blindsided out of nowhere. Not the person who withdrew for months. Not the person who asked for distance. Not the person who treated connection like a faucet she could turn off whenever she wanted. No. In her story, I was the one who abandoned her. Because that version hurt less than admitting she lost someone who finally stopped chasing. That night, around 11 p.m., someone knocked on my door again. Not aggressively, just a soft, insistent tapping. I looked through the peephole. It was Maya. Not dressed up, not crying, just standing there with a phone in her hand, looking terrified of what wasn't happening. I wasn't opening the door. I didn't say anything at first. I waited in silence. Then she spoke, voice barely audible. Please, just talk to me. Something in me shifted, not with cruelty, but with clarity. I opened the door only a crack. Maya, I said softly, you asked for space. And I gave it to you. She shook her head. Not like this. How was I supposed to know what space meant? You never told me. You never talked to me. You just pulled away and expected me to wait indefinitely. I just needed time, she whispered. You had months, I said. Months of distance. Months of half answers. Months of me wondering what I did wrong while you disappeared. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't want this. I know, I said. But you also didn't want us. Not really. Not enough to show up. She clenched her fists. I can fix this. We can fix this. No, I said quietly. We can't. She inhaled sharply. So that's it. That's it. She looked at me like I'd knocked the wind out of her. Like I'd done something unthinkable. Why are you being so cold? She whispered. Because this is the first time I've chosen myself, I said. And I'm not going back. She wiped her cheeks, stepped back, and nodded once, like a verdict had been read. Okay, she whispered. Goodbye. This time, I believed it. Final update that you'd think the story ends at the doorway, with her whispering goodbye and me closing the door. But the real ending took months to unfold, quietly, like a bruise fading under a shirt no one sees. 1. The first month, silence isn't emptiness. For the first time in a long time, my apartment felt like mine. No emotional guessing games. No, maybe tomorrow. No tiptoeing around someone's shifting moods. I woke up early, cooked breakfast, went to the gym, stayed late at work, read books I'd been ignoring. I slept. I breathed. Healing wasn't some dramatic revelation. It was small, consistent peace, little pieces of me I hadn't realized I'd lost. But Maya didn't disappear. Not really. Because mutual friends kept me informed even when I didn't ask. 2. Her narrative unravels. Liam called me one evening. Dude, he said, she's backtracking. Backtracking how? He hesitated. She's telling people she never said she needed space, that you overreacted, and that you dumped her out of nowhere. I let out a breath, long and calm. Of course she was. Control, image, narrative, that had always been her currency. But people weren't buying it anymore. Because the more she talked, the more inconsistent her story became. A friend overheard her contradict herself at a party. First, he left me when I needed him most. Then, 10 minutes later, I told him I needed space because I was overwhelmed. People weren't dumb. They connected the dots. 3. The DM I wasn't supposed to see. Around the 6-week mark, a friend sent me a screenshot. I know you blocked her, but you should see this. It was a message Maya had sent him, not me. The words hit me harder than any accusation. I didn't think he'd actually leave. There it was. The truth she could never say to my face. Space wasn't a request. It was a test. Distance wasn't a need. It was a way to see if I'd cling harder. And when I didn't, when I respected her words instead of the meaning she assumed I'd magically understand, she realized too late that she'd pushed someone who was finally done being pulled. That message didn't make me angry. It made me sad for both of us. Because she never wanted a relationship. She wanted reassurance wearing the mask of one. 4. The last encounter. 3 months later, I ran into her at a grocery store. No dramatic staring. No emotional music. Just two people who once loved each other standing between shelves of pasta and canned soup. She looked smaller. Not physically, emotionally. She stepped toward me. "Hey," she whispered. I nodded. "Hey." "Can we?" She swallowed. "Can we talk?" I considered it. Not out of hope. Out of closure. "Sure," I said. Not warm, not cold. We walked outside. She hugged herself, like she was freezing. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said quickly, words tumbling out. "I handled everything wrong. I shouldn't have asked for space. I shouldn't have expected you to wait. I shouldn't have lied about anything." I let her speak. When she finally stopped, I said, "I'm not angry anymore, Maya, but I'm not going backwards." She blinked fast. "Do you ever think about us?" "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not in a way that hurts." She looked down. "I wish I'd said what I meant instead of expecting you to guess." "I wish that too," I said. "But we're different people now." A long pause. "Are you seeing someone?" she asked softly. "No," I said. "I'm seeing myself. And that's enough right now." Something in her eyes cracked. Not jealousy, but regret. Real regret. She nodded slowly. "Goodbye," she said again. But this time, I said it back. "Goodbye, Maya." And that was the real ending. 5. The after ending. Peace, finally. I didn't unblock her. I didn't stalk her social media. I didn't send one last text. I moved forward, quietly, steadily. And the funny thing? Peace doesn't feel like victory. It feels like breathing without realizing you were suffocating before. For the first time in years. I'm okay. Truly okay. And that's the part she never expected. She thought losing me would hurt me more than her. But in the end, she taught me how to choose myself.